I think I get a little stir crazy just wanting to know what else I can do. So, I mean, I went to college for a year and couldn't pay for college. So many of my family were in the Navy, which is why I explored that to begin with. And I started cooking while I was in the Navy for other people because nobody could go home for holidays. I didn't actually cook as a job, but I started inviting people over to my house, and I was kind of like the den mother, taking in all the strays. And that's how I figured out that I really liked doing it. And so I pursued culinary school on my GI Bill. Once that gets in your blood, you'd never, even I worked in restaurants when I was 15. I had a second job when I was in the Navy. I worked at Friendly's on third shift because I just, don't have enough to do. So I did that for a few years, became a private chef, and back in 2000, my little cousin, God bless her, little 16-year-old, killed in a car accident first day of school. And I remember her saying the week before, we were sitting in her pool and we were just talking, and she's like, what would you be doing if your life were perfect? And I said, well, I'd be traveling again. And she says, you'd make a perfect flight attendant. And I said, yeah, okay. And a week later, she's gone. Just that wise beyond her years. And 3 weeks later, I had a job as a flight attendant. There's never been a woulda, coulda, or shoulda in my life. My mother taught me that early on. I just jumped at the chance. And when I was a flight attendant, when I was flying, I developed this weird thing. It was kind of like how Paula Deen started with door knock dinners. Well, I would just end up talking to my passengers about my culinary history, and how I love to cook. And I could never commit to being there because I never knew if my flight would be canceled or delayed. But if I landed, I could call them and I said, whatever you have in the house, invite 6 friends over and I'll do a dinner party for you. So it got to be this crazy thing. And then I started doing these impromptu dinner parties for my passengers. And they'd come pick me up at the airport and then I'd come cook for 6 or 8 or 10 of them. It was crazy. I almost never make the same thing twice. Really difficult for me to follow a recipe. I'm getting much better at writing it down so that other people can follow them. But I just keep feeling that I'm getting to that next best thing. There's always the next best thing for me. What is it? I have no idea. But there's always something that I have to go after. One of the first things I did when I was a corporate chef was I hand cut 750 steaks my first week. So that was the start of where I started to look into things. And then just learning from where the food system stands right now and how far away we have strayed from how it's truly supposed to be. And my worlds were colliding. The horrible things that we're doing to these animals and how the system has just been so infiltrated by processes and technologies and chemicals and that just wasn't anything that I wanted from my family. The term butcher in general, when you take it to the butcher, is somebody that does the kill. But it absolutely is a lost art because it's not easy. It's a lot of work and messy. And there are a lot, and I'm learning more and more. There are so many regulations that surround it. And women contacted me out of the blue on Facebook and just, oh my gosh, I love what you're doing. I didn't know women could do this. And, is this something that I could learn? And I just want it to be a place where we can celebrate strong and feminine at the same time. Again, when you see an animal on the hoof and on the bone and see it as a structure and hanging, begins as a life for me. It's a sacrifice, and it's so weird sometimes when you say, is it meat or is it life, or it's kind of like the old pig and egg when you talk about breakfast. The egg is involved, the pig is committed. But the actual, to get a knife in my hand and to seam out a beautiful piece of beef is therapy. It's rewarding. I've always enjoyed physical labor, and then seeing something from start to finish, that's terribly rewarding for me. So is it physically challenging? Absolutely. Is it mentally challenging? Yes, absolutely. But, my whole life's been that way. I wouldn't have it any other way. By no stretch of the imagination am I a master butcher yet. I am, a champion of diving off cliffs. My mother told me, this is my favorite thing, my mother always told me I had more courage than sense.